Hey, greetings and welcome back. Today I've got somebody else's map again, and it was a map that had like huge traffic issues because of certain mods, and I don't know what mods they were. Uh, you couldn't see the traffic on this map as far as the mayor was concerned. Their traffic was traveling at 92 to 95% traffic flow. In reality, it was jammed from outside connection to outside connection. So I decided to see what I could do about traffic here. Now the challenge was to do it without augmenting or changing his city too much. Keep his city the way it was, just do the corrections or do what you could do. Do what I could do. So I came up with a couple really strange intersections. There's this one, which is a T intersection, sort of, but it's I guess a glorified T. As you can see over the top there, anybody that wants to go through that intersection, that's a bypass for them, so they don't have to go to the intersection. This intersection, if you keep watching that intersection, I don't know how to say it, it's a three-state light. Every direction that goes or that's leading into the intersection has its own light. See, every one of them is making a left-hand turn because they have the light to themselves. These guys, they get to go straight through. Oh wait, they turn too? Why would he turn? Anyways. So I decided to go, let's make this the easy, how do I say that? Let's get the least amount of traffic to wait at this intersection lights, right? So in every direction, if you needed a right-hand turn, if you wanted to take the way to the right, you could bypass the intersection. If you were coming from the right here, you could bypass the whole intersection and keep going on your way by taking the overhead pass. Or you use the intersection to do your left-hand turn. If you were coming from the left, you would have, you can take the right-hand turn here to go down into the town, or you use the intersection to go across and go towards the highway. From the bottom, you have two directions. You got the right-hand turn direction, which is going towards the highway, or the left-hand turn up and over the T, actually, to continue to the back end of the neighborhood or back end of the town. It's the intersection here, the part that's controlled by the traffic light that is interesting at this intersection. It's the fact that every direction that has business to do with the intersection has their own green light, while the other two directions have got a red light. See, these guys are going through the intersection, making their left-hand turn. Nobody else is moving. And then, see, all of them, they're making their left-hand turn. Nobody's crossing their path. And then the other side, they go through the intersection. That part, that merging, I got to fix that. I'll get that figured out. But it's these traffic lights that I want to talk about. You can make them vanilla style. I mean, you don't need a mod to do any of what I'm doing here. The only mod that I'm using is network extensions. And what that mod gives you is extra road pieces like 3-lane one-ways, 4-lane one-ways, extra highway pieces, and that sort of thing. I'm not using a traffic mod. And yet, I've got a specialty intersection or a specialty traffic light to control this intersection. These lights do take a little bit longer to run through their sequence because your common traffic light is like a two-state. North and south goes, and then east and west goes. And in each case, the poor left-hand turners are suffering. And that's what was wrong with this whole intersection here. Actually, this one didn't exist like this, right? The problem, this was all backed up, is because way at the end there where the roundabout is, it's that roundabout that was actually causing the problem. Now, not being familiar with roundabouts, I just took the thing out. But the problem with the roundabout is the roundabout was one lane around, or one lane, around. So therefore, all this traffic sitting here waiting in this line, they were all going to that destination, single file. And when they got up to the intersection, maybe 5 vehicles that wanted to do a left-hand turn could actually make their left-hand turn. So this line never stopped. It just kept growing and growing and growing. So I decided to take as much traffic away from that far intersection. And since some of the traffic, because there's all kinds of residential, commercial, and business down here, I figured I could funnel at least some of it there. And this was the weird kind of intersection I came up with. Now over at the other end there, the end towards the highway, I decided to bring it back natural, like take out the roundabout, because being Canadian, I don't quite understand them as well. And in this case, well, they were doing this. So I took out the roundabout and rebuilt the intersection, and I tweaked it and I messed with it, and I, over and over and over and over again, tried to come up with an intersection that worked. What I'm trying to say, this is one of those things that evolve. I mean, when you look at this way, with the roundabout, and then without the roundabout, the only way to explain it was just pure trial and error to get it like this. But when you look at this intersection, the best I've ever had, the most state lights I've ever had was the 3-state, the one that you saw. I've got a few of those in my city, and they're at key points in my city where I need to push a lot of volume, because they do take longer than ordinary lights. There's that 3rd state. Well, this one's a 4th state, or a 4-state light. Every direction that goes into the intersection, or every street that goes into the intersection, has the light to itself. And when you watch, every so often, that accounts for a lot of traffic that gets to pump through this intersection and allow it to flow this smoothly. Right? I mean, when you compare the two, there's this, in which they are moving, and they're moving at a pace, right? Or, there's something like this. Now, seeing that they are traffic lights, they are going to stop traffic, right? Like any other traffic light. But in this case, the 3-state and the 4-state traffic lights, the way they differ is the green light, or the traffic that is given the green light, is given the green light to go in whichever direction they want without being impeded, which allows for a lot of volume to be pushed through the light at one time. So it acts, in my mind, it's actually more efficient than standard intersections or uncontrolled intersections. But you can't just use them anywhere. Whenever I've tried to build a 3-state intersection or a 4-state, well, this would be the first time I've ever built a 4, but whenever I've tried to build a 3-state, it never seems to work. It always seems to work where I evolve the traffic, or evolve the intersection, where I try something and it works for a little while, then I try something else and try something else and try something else. Now, the secret of making a 3-state light or a 4-state light is one-way streets. For a 3-state intersection to work, you need at least one way, or a single one-way going into the intersection. I do have one where I have 2 one-way streets going into an intersection and a one-way street going out, and yet it's a 3-state intersection. The third state ends up being the crosswalk that's being interfered by the other two roads. It's an interesting intersection, to say the least. But if there's any sort of takeaway that I want you to get from all this bragging that I'm doing, is that you need to spend a little bit of time with your traffic. Build whatever you build, but don't be afraid to go back and, do a lot of head scratching and figure out what would make it work better, and give it a shot. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work. Sooner or later, you're going to find something that works rather well. I hope you enjoyed this. Take care. Oh, I just about forgot. A piece of advice. Single lane traffic jams mainly are caused by intersections. The things that most of us take for granted. Take care.